Okay, I think we can start now. Okay, so welcome you all. And today's topic, what we are going to discuss in association with Karnataka KTech Cybersecurity Center of Excellence team. That's a very nice initiative from Karnataka government, and Purple Synapse, which is a research and training in training labs, which and located in Bangalore. So today's topic will be deep packet inspection. So before we go directly onto the topic, have you ever world is using the internet? Mobile phone they will use it, or their laptops, desktops, and like no other handheld devices. And there is always something called a source, and then there is a destination. So you use or consume the data which is hosted on facebook.com or google.com. Basically these are the servers which are like holding some kind of images or data, and then there is a the client side, which is your mobile or laptop, which is using a client tool called browser most of the time. Sometimes like you have a the chatting tool like Skype, and even the Zoom tool, which is consuming the internet. And packet goes from our machine via Wi-Fi port or LAN port and reaches all the way to the server. Server can be, but have you ever thought, so if the packet has to reach USA, it has to must leave India first. So from where it is actually leaving the India? Suppose are the gate, whenever we are accessing the internet from our mobile phone and desktops, it leaves our laptop, it goes to the nearest telecom setup. If you have a connection from BSNL or Airtel, and then from there it goes to the centralized the routers, and from there eventually it has to leave India and then go to various other continents. The moment, like the way you travel from one place to another, there has to be some highway, right? So those highways, I mean, if you are interested on that, you can always check Google and try to find out how India is connected to the world. So in India, there are 4 exit points. Okay, Mumbai, Chennai. Mumbai is the busiest one, where almost all kind of internet goes from there. So like if something happens at the Mumbai port, half of the internet, when we say internet, basically connectivity from India to outside world will be disrupted. And then there is a Chennai, which is the next important place. Then Cochin, Tuticorin is another place where government of India has developed. And then Agartala, recently I heard there is a connectivity to go to the eastern countries. So this is how, and these are all undersea fiber optic, very huge cables. So ultimately we all do whatever we want to do from our country, but eventually all the packets which are leaving our devices goes to these locations, and via undersea cables, fiber optic cables, it goes to South Africa, to Middle East, and from there it goes via wired cable to those different countries, and from there again via sea it reaches to USA. So that is how when we try to ping a server in USA, you get some kind of response, and that is the time actually it takes from packet leaving your city, reaching to the ultimate server, and then coming it back. So it takes about few milliseconds, like on average you can say around 100 to 200 milliseconds is good enough. So anything beyond that, definitely there is some issues on the way, and it goes through various paths. There is no single path with which internet package leaves it. Now, why I'm telling all this fascinating story is it is very, very important for us to understand and appreciate the technologies which we are using every day. But there is so much research, so much technology which is involved in the backend. And the only way to learn and understand the backend or networking portion of that, which is actually carrying the data, we have read OSI models, TCP/IP models, but it takes a lot of understanding and a lot of trial and error, because I have personally gone through that. Even if somebody teaches me OSI layer, but I will never be able to connect reading and how the packet is leaving my computer and reaches to destination, because end of the day, every books and every thoughts is talking about these are the 7 layers and these are the stuff which is happening at each layer. But how do you demystify? Okay, what happens as physical layer? Physical layer when you connect the cable. When you access Google or Facebook, what happens as physical layer? Similarly, what happens at data link layer when you're trying to do that? What happens when you upload a 1 GB file on Google Drive? What happens? Is this all file getting uploaded on the internet in a single shot? If not, so data is divided into multiple, smaller portions. What is the smaller portion? What is the smallest? And who decide what is the size of that? So all these questions comes into our mind. And why it is important for us in Purple Synapse to, even though this technology has been there, for more than 30 years, to again coming back and trying to understand what is happening at the very, very fundamental level. Okay. And no other tool at this point of time, based on my experience, better than Wireshark to give all those answers, what you have been always looking for. So it starts, those who are just starting to learn about this tool or who have heard this tool for the first time, this will be the tool which you should use if you are learning TCP/IP and OSI model. If you don't have this tool, it will take a lot of time for you to make a lot of sense. So basically you try to access facebook.com, run the Wireshark, capture the packet, and Wireshark will tell you what is happening at layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, right? Interest, or people who have done the the engineering in their IT, they understand everything on the wire runs in ones and zeros. So what we are talking about is Facebook, Google, and all other websites. Ultimately, at the wire level, everything is ones and zeros. It goes to router, firewall, security, and since Center of Excellence also talks about a lot of security. If you understand what is happening at each layer, people are developing the product to make sure that, okay, you understand all these 7 layers, but you cannot send me the virus. But who decided which layer viruses can be sent? At what layer I will find out this is a virus and not a virus? So all these research level kind of knowledge you can gain. There is some tool required for sure, and nothing better than Wireshark because it's free and one of the most popular tools. And a lot of content is already available on the internet. So today's session will be taken by our research senior engineer Sumita, who has been researching on Wireshark and understanding how everything is getting connected at the very, very deep level. And she has written some really nice blogs. I mean, if you go to Purple Synapse/blog, you will see her work, what she's trying to do that. And every day she is reinventing and trying to learn something new. And she gets a lot of surprises when trying to dip a little deeper all the time. So I will just hand over to Sumita, and the way this flow is going to happen, because we assume there are many people who, based on the feedback what we have received, there are many people who are just starting as a first timers, and then few people are there who already have some expertise on this technology what we are going to talk about. So to cater the need of everybody, we'll start with very, very, very basic stuff, what exactly it is, how to use it and how to capture the packet. But at the later stage, we will also show you the advanced level of capabilities of the Wireshark. Okay? And everything launches in between. Okay, so very basic and very advanced, and then everything whatever learning, whatever skills you want to develop, you will be able to capture it. So 1 hour may not be sufficient. We'll try to capture as much as we can and go back, do your own research and start learning all by yourself. Makes sense? And we will questions and everything else, you can hold it, or maybe you can mention in the chat. We will capture all those questions and we will answer the presentation. Our presentation session should not take more than 50-55 minutes, and in the last 5 to 7 minutes we'll try. Sumita, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone.
Yes. So I think, yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead, Sumita, all yours.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sumita. As already given an introduction to me. So let us start the session now. So I'll just give you a little overall introduction to Wireshark now, and then we can go ahead with the session. Okay, let me share my screen. Guys, are you able to see my screen? Okay. Yes, I can see few active participants over here. Okay, guys, let's start the session now. Okay, Wireshark. Talking about Wireshark, Wireshark is a most powerful and popular network analyzer tool. It supports a multi-platform operating system like Windows, Mac, Linux, and it's a tool that's used to inspect data, whatever the data is passing through our interface, a network interface. For example, if we are using a Ethernet, Wi-Fi, LAN, or even a wireless radio, whatever interface which we are using in our network, so it captures all the packets which are passing to that particular interface. Wireshark has a capability to capture those fishy little packets which are sent and received over the network. Whatever we do on internet, for example, like browsing different websites, use chats, transfer files, do whatever on internet, always the data is converted into packets. When it passes through your interface, Wireshark captures those packets and keeps whatever it finds. Okay. One second, guys. Okay. The topics which we are going to cover for today's session is understand the protocol header, like many protocols like DNS, ARP, HTTP, HTTPS. We'll see how to resolve names. For example, the resolving can be done in three ways: physical layer, network layer, transport layer. And now later we see how to create a colorized rule, how to highlight the packets, how to create a configuration profile for means for protocols, for all the protocols. In the advanced session, we'll see how to recreate the original files. For example, if there is any PDF, image, or exe zip file which is being downloaded in the which is transferred or downloaded in the package, how to recreate the file in the original format, and how to decrypt the SSL packets. And at the last, we'll be having a Q&A session. Wireshark supports over 850 different protocols. It supports HTTP, HTTPS, UDP packets, TCP packets, IPv4, IPv6. We can capture the packets on Ethernet, Wi-Fi. DHCP packets also we can capture, DNS, ICMP packets, all other protocols. Everything we can see in Wireshark. Okay, coming back to Wireshark, are you able to see my screen, guys? Okay, fine. I'll just open Wireshark. I recommend you guys to open Wireshark in an administrator mode. So this is the main interface of Wireshark. This is status bar, menu bar, main menu bar. This is display filter. This session is most recent open files. This is a capture filter. These are the interfaces which your laptop supports now, like for example, Wi-Fi, LAN, Bluetooth, VM adapters. This session gives you a short description about the version which we are Wireshark version which we are using. This is status bar. See, it gives a short description about what the current state of Wireshark is, ready to load or capture. Shows the statistic report of packets. This is a profile. So later we'll come to this session. Okay. Okay, before capturing the packets, if we want to put any filters to capture, so we can do that also. Here is the capture filter. So, okay, if you want to capture the packets on one particular interface, what you have to do is, first you have to see which interface are you going to capture the packet. See, now I want to capture, I'm using Wi-Fi, so I can capture the packet. If I want to capture the packets on my interface, so I should just double click on the particular button. Start capturing the packets. So if you want to stop the capture, just click on this red button, it will stop the capture. If you just double click here, it captures everything on this particular interface. But if you put a filter before capturing, for example, now I want to capture only ICMP packets. So what I can do is I can just give a filter with that particular protocol, ICMP, and click on enter. It captures only ICMP packets. See, browse whatever you want to. Facebook. It doesn't capture anything. So now what I'll do is I'll just open a command prompt and just ping DNS server. It start capturing packets. So only so before capturing the packets, what I have done is I have just clicked on one capture filter, that is ICMP packets. So what Wireshark does is it captures only the ICMP packets. I'll just stop the capture here. Okay, this is, there are three main panels in Wireshark. This is a packet list panel, packet detail panel, and packet type panel. So each packets, so in OSI model or TCP IP model, what you have noticed, like there are layers. So whenever packet is sent from the source to destination, the packets, okay, if the packet data size is too big, then what it does, it divides, chunks the packet into bytes. Each packet is sent over the network, over the internet. So this is one particular packet. Its header is in the second line. See, there is three layers. So for each particular packets, there will be a headers. So these headers are in this line. This is a byte. So each byte, so you can just see if you select the frame, the entire frame is selected. So if you select one particular header, only this header is selected. This header and the ICMP header. Okay, the statistics you can see here. There are total number of 8 packets, and the display packets is this. So you can filter with the packets here. For example, we can put a filter with the IP address. For example, ip.addr equals to 8.8.8.8. Any IP address you can give. Just click on enter. So you can see the filter works here. Or what you can do is ip.src. So what this does is only the source is this particular IP address. Click here. The source is this IP address. So you can just click DST. It shows destination as this IP address. See, the destination is this IP address. It filters with the protocol also, ICMP packets. You can filter with ICMP packet, DNS packet, ARP packets, all other. Wireshark supports over 850 protocols. So all the protocols you can filter here. I'll just close this. Okay, if you want to create any button, for example, if you more oftenly if you use one filter, for example, ip.addr equals to DNS. This particular IP, if you filter more oftenly, and if you want to put this button here in the Wireshark, so what you can do is you can just click on press mark here, and label is you can just give DNS, you can just give IP, and this one, and just click IP8. Okay, click on enter. So here is a button. So whenever you want to put that filter, you can just press here. So you just get the filter. So but this filter will be stick to this default profile. So this is just a short introduction to Wireshark. So let's get back to the topic. The first topic is name resolution. I'll just open Wireshark. Start capturing the packets. I'll just flush R, flush DNS. What I'll do is I'll just browse one URL, that is Veronica's. So before going to this particular server, what usually the internet does is, first we have to resolve the name. First, the ARP should be resolved to reach the default gateway. Then the DNS should be resolved. Then the packet will go to the server. So now just let's go to Wireshark. Stop the packet capture. Just go to ARP. First, the default gateway should be resolved. See, 6.1 is my default gateway. So default gateway is resolved first. It is in packet number 80. So I'll just go to DNS packet. So DNS packet is okay. I've browsed the Veronica's server, right? So DNS query is sent, and the respond we have got that. So if you want to see the DNS query and response, so what you can just do is, if you want the query and the response coming back, want to see the column, so what you can do is just go here, apply as a column. The column will be displayed over here. So respond also, you can just see what IP is being solved for this query. So this is a response. So you can put this as a column. Oh, okay, fine. 1 second. So I'll just filter with this particular IP address. Apply as a filter. Already selected, right? Fine. I'll filter with this IP address, ip.addr equals to. Okay. So if you so Veronica's web server, it's not secured. So it is using HTTP protocol. So what we can do is you can see what all data is being displayed also in Wireshark. So we'll just go to this and see SYN, SYNAC, and ACK. So this is a GET request. The POST request, see, you can just see here. So GET request, so you can just see here, this is a GET request, and the response is coming back in this packet. So you can just click on this particular packet, and you can now here you can see the web page. The web page which we can see in a browser. So the same thing you can see in the Wireshark. So this is a link which goes to the YouTube. We just cross check whether it goes to the YouTube or no. Yes, it goes to the YouTube. So this is how you see everything in Wireshark. The package is being not encrypted. If it is plain, you can just see it in Wireshark. Coming to the name resolution, see. So what we can do is, if this is the IP which you want to resolve it, you can just click here, click on view, click on name resolution, and check mark all these three. This resolves physical address, this resolves the network address, this resolves the transport address. I'll just come one by one. The physical address, I'll just uncheck this. See, the source MAC addresses, you can see here. Once I just click on name resolution and physical address, you can see the result here. The MAC address vendor name will be displayed here. So click on name resolution, network address, the IP addresses will be resolved. For example, this is IP which I'm using currently. So I can just resolve my own IP addresses also here, over here. So right click on this, click on resolve, it resolve name, and you can just give your name. So the IP will be resolved to your name. And the server's also, IP also you can resolve if you want. Okay, the coming back to configuration profile, so we can create a configuration profile for each particular user or the protocols also. Click on view, click on edit configuration profile. You can create your own profiles over here. You can just, you have to just click on plus mark, give a name. For example, I have given a KTech here. See, the profile will be changed. So it will reset to the default profile initially. So here you can just add whatever you want. You can modify the complete profile. You can just create, put more column if you want. You can create a colorized role. So you can just edit whatever you want. A time format also you can change. For example, you just go to view, time display format. You can just click on date, time, and this one. So date will date also you can change. So you can create a colorized role. Click on view, colorized role. So here you can Wireshark has a default colorized rule, so you can just alter change this. The darker packets are the error packets. So if you want to create your own colorized rule also, you can just click on plus mark and change or give a display filter. For example, okay, the previous thing we'll just change it. There's a R packet. We'll just change the background color as green. click on enter, just click on OK. So just filter with R. So the color will be changed now. I recommend you guys to use the default color. Okay, now we'll see how using Wireshark, how we can get the credentials when people are using HTTP protocol. How can we see the credentials capturing in Wireshark? So okay, I know one website which takes the credentials in HTTP protocol. Just on Wireshark. Have you guys heard about Wait SMS? Anyone? Anyone online? Heard about Way to SMS? Okay, fine. I'll just capture the packet. I'll just go to the website. Way to SMS. So here we'll give the mobile number and password. Let's see whether Wireshark will be able to capture those credentials or no. So number. So I'll just give password. Click on login. I've just given a wrong password. So let's see whether Wireshark is able to capture those credentials or no. So the filter for that is, so in web servers, how it is like when you are just sending in data to the server, it goes in the post request. So I know the filter for that is http.method .request.method equals to post. So click on enter. This is a post method. So I have given a password as KTech and one mobile number. So let's see whether the credentials are being captured by the Wireshark. So this is how you can see the credentials so we tell that whatever we are doing on internet, first make sure whether we are using the encrypted method or no. Whatever the credentials which we are giving to the server, whether it is being encrypted and then going or no, or else anyone can steal your passwords. So now we'll see how to extract an image out of it. So I'll just go to any website, just images. I'll just browse one or two images. Just filter whether these images are being captured or not. The filter for that is image.if. Again, still more. I have to search. So there is an image. So we'll see how to extract this particular image using a header. Just go to this particular packet, click on this particular packet, go to the header. In header, for this particular header, JPEG file interchange format, just right click on this and export packet bytes. Go on export packet bytes. Here you can I'll just save it in desktop. So I just give a name as image.jpeg. Click on save. So here, this particular image is now recreated. So this is an image. So using Wireshark only, we are recreating this particular image also. So now what we'll do is, we'll see how to recreate PDF, exe and zip files also. So I just got few URLs where I get this PDF. So I just go to this particular URL. It's okay. I'll just download this URL, this PDF. So in Wireshark, let's see we'll be able to recreate this image or no, PDF or no. So I know the filter what we can give is HTTP contains .pdf. So this is a GET request. So followed by this, we'll get the response to this. I'll just right click on this and follow HTTP Slido. So GET request is this, and the response coming back is in this particular packet. So what we can do is, you can just, so this is a GET request and the response is coming back on in this particular packet. So what I'll do is, I'll just go to this particular header and right click on this. I'll just do export packet bytes. Sample.pdf. Just save this. So this is a PDF. I'll just open this PDF. This PDF. So zip, exe and PDF, it's all same. So instead of extracting each and every particular header, what else you can do is, you can just go to file, export objects, and you can click on HTTP. So here what you can do is, you can just create export everything. So I'll just click on save all, and in desktop itself, I'll just create one file as files. So I'll just go to that particular. So here you can see all the files which are been extracted. So these are the logos. So I'll just open any one of the file. So this is what you want. So you can just see the PDF also, which we have just extracted. So I'll just filter over here. So this is our PDF. So if you want, you can individually extract by using header, or else you can just export everything you find in Wireshark. Okay, I'll show you how to extract this zip files now. I'll start capturing the packets. I'll just download this zip file. In Wireshark also what I'll do is just put a filter. Zip. So this get request. So I'll just right click on this and do follow TCP stream, follow HTTP stream. So I'll just close this one and the response which I'm getting back. So respond is comparing this packet. See. So by this you can identify what the get request and the respond to the particular packet. So in this, what I'll do is I just right click on this export packet types. So extension is must. So what I'll do is I'll just save it in desktop. So this is zip file. You can just extract here. So this is file. Now coming to SSL encryption. So what we can do is we can just add a keylogger and then we can import keylogger in Wireshark and then you can see the encrypted packets also. So how to add environmental variable is, I'll just show you. So environmental variable. So this is an environmental variable which you need to add SSL keylog file. And this is a path which I have given. This is a file SSL keylog.log is a file which this file we have to import it in Wireshark. Okay. How to import it in Wireshark is I'll stop this capture and go to edit preferences and in protocol go to SSL. So here you need to add the keylogger. Just go to browse where the path is to users in Sumita. Here I have saved the keylog file. So I'll just import it in Wireshark. This is a path. In environmental variable also you can see this path. Same path. See user Sumita and SSL keylog file. See user Sumita and SSL keylog file. Okay, click on OK. This takes little while because all the keylogs will be uploaded in Wireshark. Now what we'll do is we'll capture the live packets and see whether we'll be able to see the credentials now. So now, for example, we'll go to IRCT's website. So before going to IRCT's website, what we'll do is I'll just close the browser. I'll start capturing the packets on Wireshark. So I'm on Wi-Fi network. So let me select this adapter, Wi-Fi. So the packets are being captured. So now what I'll do is I'll go to browser. IRCTC website. So what I'll do is I'll log in, give password, and give captcha also. 6FU49. The captcha, sign in. I hope the packets are being captured. So now what I'll do is I'll just stop the capture. So after stopping the capture, what I'll do is I'll import the log file again. Go to edit, preferences, the same chat shown before. Go to protocols, SSL, and here you need to import the SSL keylogger file. Just browse. It's Z. Users, Sumita, and the file name is SSL keylogger. This is a file which I'm importing. It's a master keylog. Click on. Now the keys are loaded into Wireshark. So what we can do is we can now try to see the credentials which we have entered in IRCTC website. So what I do is I'll just click on HTTP request.method equals to post. So what all so what all credentials we give in IRCTC website? So it goes to post request. So I guess this one. So see, this is the password, username and the password. So here we got to know that if the packets are encrypted also, we can decrypt using the SSL keylogger file.
Okay, so now we'll start Q&A session. So we have received some interesting questions from our participants. We really appreciate that. So the first question is from Raja, and he wants to know how to retry a multi-packet file. So Sumita would like to take that?
Yes. So what we need to do in Wireshark is, okay, I've already captured one file while downloading the exe. So this is an exe file.
So you downloaded this file from a server.
Yes.
And you have captured this PDF from the network level or the PC level. It does not matter actually. You can capture anywhere, and we will see where we are able to recreate the original file.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
So just open this file. Just click on put a display filter as HTTP. You just see here's a get request for the exe file, and these are the continuation packet. There's the OK message. So you can see the response here, and there's a continuation page. So what you just need to do is like go to edit, select preferences, go to protocols, type HTTP. You just need to select these two options. For reassemble HTTP headers, spanning multiple TCP segments, reassemble HTTP bodies spanning multiple TCP segments. Click on OK. So you just see at the back end where the packets are reassembled. So this is a packet which is reassembled packet. Just see here. What you just need to do is click on data, right click, click on export. You can just select any path where you want to save the file. Right, give a file name. I'll just give zip.exe as an extension to save. So in desktop, you get exe file. You can just double click and
good, very good. So we are able to recreate the file from the packets. So basically, this is what Rajat was asking. If you have multi packets, obviously a big file will be first divided into smaller packets. As you can see from the screen, like smaller, the size of the packets is like 1460 bytes. And then when all these bytes are getting assembled, reassembled at the client, you are actually able to recreate the original file. Good. Very good. So, okay, so let's move on to the next question. The next question is from Sadan, and he's asking, does Wireshark allow to concatenate or append from its user interface? So basically, what I understand is, so there could be two ways to look at this question. One is, can you reset all the packets and recreate the file which we have already shown earlier, like Rajat was asking. The second is, can you append multiple PKF files or concatenate? Because obviously you will not, suppose if you are capturing file on a network and every minute is a 1 GB of file which is getting generated. So you're not going to generate 100 GB file. So suppose if you have multiple PKF files, can you join all these files and make it a single file and then find out if there is any interesting data inside that? What do you think, Sumita?
Yes, sir. Actually, we can merge multiple PCAP files. Might be we can take one capture at the desktop level and another capture at network level, and then we can merge two different capture files in Wireshark. There's an option here. So, for example, this is a PCAP file we already have. And if I want to merge one more PCAP file in this particular PCAP file, what I just need to do is click on File, click on Merge. So I'll just select one more PCAP file from my stock. So here I have three options. One is prepend. These are three options. One is prepend, another one is chronological, and another one is append. So you can select any of these option. If we select this chronological, what will happen is it merges the packet on the time and date wise. So if we select on prepend, second packet will be put in the first, and then first PCAP will be at the bottom. Append means what will happen, the first PCAP which is already there, but it will be at beginning, and the second PCAP will come and sit the last. So now what we'll do is I'll just click on append, then select OK. So first PCAP will be over here, the second PCAP will be merged at the last.
Okay, good. So yeah, that's an interesting thing. So ideally, when you have two PCAP files captured at different times, like suppose one are captured in the morning, another in the evening, it is better to merge as append. But if you are capturing packet at the same time at two different devices, it's better to take time stamp. It's the best practice, because based on the time, it will automatically reshuffle all the packets and you will be able to get a better result. Okay, very good. Let's moving to another question, and this is asked by Kuldeep, and he wants to know, on your last slide, you wanted to demonstrate SL keylog, and he just wanted to know what about the log file and what are the pre-installed keylogger. He's asking if there is any pre-installed keylogger, what exactly is the log file which was there. So Kuldeep, this is the very, very interesting part as a security personnel, that for this lab, Sumita has not installed any software whatsoever. She just went to computer's environmental settings and she has enabled a variable, and she has given a path to a log file. That's it. Once you do this small setting on Windows machine, and then automatically Windows operating system itself will start capturing the necessary keys which are involved in any kind of SSL communication. So obviously for any encrypted data, you need some keys to decrypt it, right? That is very, very important. At the end of the day, the data is as safe as the keys. So keys are very, very tough to crack, and that is why the SSL is considered to be very, very safe. So once you have the keys, then definitely you will be able to get back the original packet. So to answer your question, this is just an environmental setting default, no software has been installed. So just imagine a situation where, so this is important for the security practitioner, how scary the situation is. Just imagine you are going to cyber cafe or you are using a shared laptop, and just imagine if that person has enabled this setting on the laptop, and then you are using that machine to feeling that HTTPS can safeguard all your information, but that's not the case. So because whatever you are trying to transfer from that machine, if the setting is enabled, everything can be filtered out. I think Sumita has done some research, and not all HTTPS websites will be vulnerable, but on a very default kind of setting, whatever research she has done, a couple of websites are able to share the username and password of the end user. What, Sumita, which websites you have tested, and would you like to share that?
I've tested many websites actually. So the few of them were like IRCTC, FreeCharge, and iCloud. I was able to see your password.
Okay. And yeah, and I think you said that Gmail and Facebook.
Gmail and Facebook, yeah, it was a little hard for me to crack the password. I was not able to see the passwords actually.
Okay. So if you are using IRCTC website, I don't know if that has been fixed in the last, few days while we demonstrated that. So what you can do is enable the setting, hand it over to your friend or, your colleague, ask them to log into IRCTC, and then by choosing the Wireshark, you will be able to grab the username and password for them. So that would be really, some kind of hands-on exercise which you can try it out. Okay, so I think something related to the same question, Saranand is also asking what SSL keylog environment variable really does, and from where does it capture keys. So see, okay, before we go to that level of discussion, let's understand what exactly this keylog environment variable does. So for any packet moving between source and destination, it has to be encrypted and decrypted. So for that, if you look at PKI architecture, there's public key and private, and these keys are very difficult to remember because they are generated by system on the fly, and these encryption algorithms are as secure as their password, right? I mean, you cannot have a password admin 123 and you are encrypting with AES 256 or Blowfish, because an encryption algorithm will not be able to safeguard, because keys are the one which are saving the data. So what it does in SSL communication is your browser creates random public and private keys, and those are the keys which are used to encrypt and decrypt the actual traffic. So this simple environment setting, what it does, it dumps all this data, because ultimately these keys will be stored somewhere in the memory while all this communication is happening. So what this setting allows from the Windows is to capture that public and private keys which are used in the SSL communication. And while you use those keys inside Wireshark, Wireshark automatically will be apply the decryption and will be able to demonstrate the data in the clear text. So this is what is a simple method what is happening in the background. So any a server or an application which is not exposing the public and private key to the Windows system easily, we consider as a good SSL security. For example, we saw that between FreeCharge, IRCTC versus email and Facebook, because both are SSL, but you will not be able to easily get the username and password by doing this setting from Facebook and email. However, you can be able to capture the username and password for IRCTC and a website which Sumita was talking about. So yeah, Jivan, I think he was asking the same question. I hope we have answered those questions. So anything else, Sumita, would you like to add based on your research on that, Wireshark? So it's an interesting tool. What do you think?
Yes, of course. Yes, it's a very interesting tool. We can do anything. Means like in network level, whatever we capture packets, we can decrypt anything.
And you will be able to recreate the files which demonstrated to
yes,
all the...
Yes, we can recreate the files and see the passwords. We can filter out anything, and we can even hear the VoIP calls, So that is really very interesting.
So you did one research where, yes, she recorded the two people were talking voice over IP and captured a packet on network, and that packet captured, she was able to replay what all two people were talking. So that was very, very interesting. So that's a very powerful tool. Again, we would like to sum it up and then close the session. This is a very powerful tool. Anybody getting started in network and cybersecurity, or somebody already there in the domain, it is very, very important to understand this tool and go in depth. But this is the only tool, I guess, which allows you to understand packet at each and every layer of the OSI model. So good luck for all the learning. Thank you so much for all the participations. We'll get back to all of you for our next webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone.